Hi, and welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to A Cup of Joe and a Show. My name is Kenny Kramer, and I'm alongside of Jim Master.
Hola.
And Jared Walker.
Hello.
And we're doing the first Scream movie review. We just watched it. And so, Jared, do you want to do the plot?
Well, we should probably start with our histories. of the
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
So,
I think I'm the only one alive when this first came out in theaters.
That's
I think
true.
I'm that old.
Theaters.
Theaters. That's how we pronounced it back in the day. Now it's
Oh, okay.
theaters.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was Scrom instead of Scream and theaters.
I see.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jim, since you've seen it in theaters, probably.
No, I didn't. I was not allowed to watch rated R films back when
I
that
see.
first came out. So I wasn't like that old, but I was still like in the no, you can't watch rated R films.
I see. But
Yeah.
anyway, what's your history with this movie? When did you first see it? What was your...
I don't know when I
reaction?
first saw it, actually. It was probably sometime in the late 2000s.
Interesting. After
Yeah.
all the hype and everything?
After all the hype, yeah, probably Scream 3 is probably when I first saw the first Scream.
So you probably
Yeah.
saw Scary Movie first.
I did see Scary Movie first. I liked that one a lot. And I think maybe I saw Scream after that, like right after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Kenny, what's your history with this?
I've seen the first one.
When did
Which
you
is
see it?
today.
Yeah. Well, no. You said you saw it before.
I've seen it twice. I don't remember the last time I saw it. I mean, besides tonight, I don't remember the last time I saw it.
I've seen it a
I was
lot,
younger.
yeah.
I know
Mm.
that.
Well,
But
my first...
to give you specifics,
You couldn't
you're
do that.
asking the wrong person.
summer of 2003, July 4th.
I mean, it was like probably during the Halloween
Oh, okay.
Time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. First time I ever saw it was, I think, it's like late November of
Like-
last year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've never been a horror guy in my whole life. I just didn't do it. And then a guy from work that I know, he said, you have to watch it. And reluctantly, I did it. I watched it, and I fell in love with the movie immediately. It was just everything that I thought horror movies were was not this.
Really? Well, so how many scary movies or horror movies did you watch before you've seen Scream?
So a few weeks before, I had seen the first Halloween.
Yeah.
I was kind of like blown away by that, how good it was.
Okay.
And then I had seen like Truth or Dare, that really bad.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, so like, and then if you count like Jurassic Park and
No,
that
we
sort
don't
of
count
stuff,
Jurassic
it's like
Park. Yeah, no.
some people say it's a horror because of all the kills, but
I mean, if
I
the
count it as
T-Rex
more as a-
dressed up in a Michael Myers mask, I'd have to agree with them. But
yeah. But other than that, I don't
okay,
think I really watched any scary movies. I had no.
okay.
No.
Have you seen any scary movies since Scream?
Yes, tons.
Okay.
Tons.
Now, how do you compare Scream as far as like you've seen a lot of other scary movies and you've seen the tropes that Scream has kind of like
Satirized.
how does that kind of like does that make you appreciate Scream a little bit more?
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, I've only seen like the really good horror movies
Okay.
since like the first 3 Friday movies, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, the last 3 Halloweens, and like They Live.
I like the
I don't really count that as a horror movie though. It's more of like a sci-fi thriller.
right, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So the plot of this movie. So it starts in the summer. I guess is this summer, fall?
Well, school is still
Still
in session,
in.
so I think it's in the first semester of school. Like,
Yeah.
in the very
It's
beginnings.
either
'Cause-
summer going into fall.
Right, because it's kind
August,
of like
or it's
autumn.
either-
People are wearing, turtlenecks and coats, and it's
Mhm.
kind of getting a little colder.
Yeah. It's
because
either
the
then
leaves
or
are
it's
falling.
really late spring. You're getting close to summer.
Yeah, I'll look it up as you.
I don't
keep
know. The
going,
movie
'cause-
came out in December, so
right.
of '96. So it's a really weird time. But this movie is directed by Wes Craven, the guy who did Nightmare on Elm Street,
Mhm.
and it was written by Kevin Williamson, who went on to write the second and fourth Screams, as well as I Know What You Did Last Summer.
No,
So-
you don't.
So he really,
No,
he
he's
really
been
has
following you.
he really has a good corner on the market of these kind of movies. So it opens with Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, and she is just doing normal teen stuff. I
Yeah,
guess. You're
yeah.
home alone, just watching a movie, getting ready to do it, and someone
Making
called.
Jiffy Pop,
Yeah. And
as one does.
a scary
As
voice.
one would do.
I do.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
Not Jiffy Pop. I use microwavable Orville Redenbacher. Not sponsored by the show.
Oh.
But would be a sponsor.
But if you would want to,
Oh,
let's pop some corn together, Orville.
Okay, that's a conversation for another podcast. I'm an act 2 kind of guy.
Oh, so you're like low tier.
So this is
Excuse me, that is the highest tier possible.
this is a whole topic that we can get into on a different episode.
Actually, no, kettle popcorn. That's
Make
popcorn
sure to
like that.
subscribe to our bag of popcorn in a show.
So anyway, she gets a call from a guy, and he seems to be very charismatic to her. I didn't get that. I thought he was creepy from the beginning, but
Hello, Sydney.
well, hello, Casey.
Hello, Casey.
And he started asking her about horror movies and stuff, and then she's blowing him off and just hanging up the phone. And then he picks it up again and says, who am I looking at?" And it goes from that point to more scary.
Yeah, it gets to the point where it's you think it's a phone call that's just a prank call, and then it's I see.
It
you
becomes
through the
more real
window,
really
or,
fast.
Which window you think I'm looking at you? Something along those lines. It gets creepy.
Well,
yeah.
it even the guy on the phone even goes do you have a boyfriend, Sydney? It's asking personal
Casey.
questions, and it's if it was a prank call, you wouldn't even consider asking, "Hey, do you have a boyfriend?"
Unless it's the boyfriend, because there's still that unknown. It's well, it could be the boyfriend just pranking the girlfriend,
Right.
right? Kind of checking up on her.
Yeah. But he was already coming out that night anyway.
Sure,
But she says, "No, I don't." Which
right? Why would
big
you?
red flag.
Right? It's okay, you kind of leading people on here if you don't tell the truth.
Right.
And so there's a really we don't really do it justice by talking about it, but there's a very long and drawn out cat and mouse kind of game that the caller is playing on Casey.
Right.
And they realize she finds out that her boyfriend's there and is tied up already.
Right.
That the killer already got him and put him in a spot. So he's asking her all these questions about horror movies, and he gets to the final question that'll save their lives. And he says, "Who's the killer in Friday the 13th?" And she says Jason.
Right. As
Which-
one would.
Would be correct for 11 of the 12 films. No,
Right.
no, 10 because he wasn't the killer in 5. Spoilers.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, she says Jason, but as everyone knows, spoiler alert, the mom is the killer in the first one.
What?
How dare you
I told you to spoil it.
I
You
am
could get
not-
out as you could have gotten out.
Oh man.
get out?
It's
Oh,
true.
fine.
No, that's
Fine.
a different horror movie.
Yeah, that- but
Well,
yeah,
and do you really think that she would have gotten away scot-free? I don't think that the killer had any intentions of letting her go.
oh no, but that was her. That was her
Right,
thought. Was well,
right.
she'll get out, but they had no. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It would
Well, you got it right. We might as well move on to the next house.
Oh shucks, well untie your boyfriend.
well, it's kind of like a hypothetical now. Okay, let's say she did get the question right.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
What do we think would have happened after that?
I think the same thing. The
Yeah.
boyfriend would have died the way he did.
But would there have been a follow-up question to try and get her to try and get her to.
No, it
No,
probably
because
just
he
would have
said
been like,
final question. So then it'd be like, wait a second, you're just leading me on here. You know,
it's like there was no. Oh, this is all fun and all, but bye. Like,
I think he would have like left her alone for a while, and then there'd been like another phone call.
mhm.
Round 2, Casey. You know, that kind of thing.
Maybe they would have killed the boyfriend and not told her that they killed him. And
Which the way they killed the boyfriend is really great. It's all practical stunts.
Mhm.
So he's sitting in the chair, and they had a false bottom. So like the legs you see aren't his legs at all.
Yeah, he was in the back pumping the
Right.
guts out through the.
Right. It's cool.
Oh,
It's
way.
cool. I mean, if you look at it now, you can clearly tell that those are fake legs.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay, yeah,
but
yeah,
they cut
yeah.
away for just a second. Like
There's
you
a-
don't see a lot of it. I mean,
There's another cut of the movie where it lingers on it longer and you see more guts coming out.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of explains it because when I saw it the
Yeah.
first time, I was like, "Oh wow, that looks real." But when I saw it tonight, I was like,
It looks a little fake.
"Wait a minute, that looks absolutely terrible."
Right.
Mhm.
With the invention of CGI and green screen and everything, practical effects sometimes like that one didn't look too great.
But the point of it is you're not really supposed to be looking
Right.
at that. So
You're supposed to be looking at
So if they do, it's not that big of a deal.
right. And Drew,
Spoiler alert, gosh!
and Drew Barrymore wasn't actually supposed to be the cold open kill. She was supposed to. She actually wanted. I think Wes Craven wanted her as Sidney Prescott,
I think something like that. But
but then she
said
suggested
she had to do it.
she
'cause it
had to
would-
be. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool.
Because
I
they
like
marketed
that.
it as her being the main
Right.
character. She's on the poster, front and center.
And it kind of gives away like Psycho vibes, as you know, the one lady wasn't the main, she wasn't
Yeah.
like alive for a lot of the film,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
after that,
So after that, we open up to the next day. After she's been murdered and tied up to a swing.
just hanging around.
Yeah. So her parents see it, and then the title card comes up,
Title card.
or either is there a title card before
Yeah,
that? Or after?
I don't know. No, Scream is like right at
the
the beginning.
beginning,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's like no. It's
And
just like
it's
boom.
weird.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
weird
it's just
title.
It's a '90s title card.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just like a hard cut to the next day.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it hard cuts to the next morning, and you see Nev Campbell playing Sidney Prescott,
Sydney.
and her friend Rose McGowan playing
Tatum.
Riley.
Tatum.
Walk into school, and then they find out that
There's a bunch of news vehicles and everything. Gale Weathers is there.
Mhm. No, we missed.
No,
we
yeah,
missed a
we
part.
we missed because when it cuts from the parents, it goes right
to her house.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
and then
Her boyfriend Billy
and
comes
then-
through the
and then
window.
Billy
Yeah,
shows up.
Billy. Yeah, because she has some weird decorations in her.
Yeah, very, very like
Very non-teen room.
yes for the 90s.
It's kind of like because the mom's dead before the movie starts, and she passed all of her knick-knack and
I guess,
tchotchkes down
yeah.
to her or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Has an old style computer there. Probably plays Fraction Munchers with that kind of technology. Fraction Munchers. You guys ever play Fraction Munchers?
I played
Did
Math
you?
Munchers.
Math Munchers was good. Oh, I love Fraction Munchers. Super Munchers, Fraction Munchers. Oh, so good. You can still find it on. Anyway, we're going.
I
off
played
tangent.
cool math games growing up. Okay.
Hey, Fraction Munchers were great.
This was about 10 years before Cool Math Games.
Yeah.
Cool math games.
I was in the era of like hamsterdance.com and all those guys. And
Yeah.
it's
So
okay, back to Scream.
yeah, back to the movie. So
funny. Back in my day, we screamed. Anyway.
so her boyfriend comes in through the window and played by
Like a meteor.
played by Skeet Ulrich. And
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, he has
Yeah.
a weird name.
yeah, it's
Skeet.
definitely a like a stage name. Like
Oh, sure.
there's no way that's his real name. But he comes in and he's being like, I never came in through your window. Like acting all he's kind of creepy to begin with.
He does just play a very creepy customer throughout the whole movie. Like there's
Yeah.
not like one scene where it'd be like
Like he's supposed to be the
he's
cool
the
boyfriend.
killer.
He's supposed to be the cool boyfriend guy.
He
But he
give
doesn't.
off
It
that
doesn't.
vibe.
Yeah, no. But maybe,
Right.
maybe to girls he did.
I mean, if you like the creeper aesthetic, sure.
I don't know. Most girls do like a bad boy, so who knows?
Well, we won't get into that just yet because we don't want to spoil anything just yet
Yeah.
in this part, even though we are going to spoil a movie.
Yes. So he comes into her room and they're flirting and whatever.
Oh, they're beyond flirting.
They're PG,
Well, the dad-
PG-13 flirting.
The dad tries to like peek inside, thinking
right,
that
'cause-
there's
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
there.
because she screams
Mhm.
when
Right.
Billy comes in the window,
Yes,
and then
and
the
then-
dad tries to get into the room.
But she closes. She has the weirdest setup for a room where her closet door and her bedroom door
Meet.
together.
Yeah,
So,
it
like-
kind of foreshadows,
Yeah. So when her dad comes in, she closes the closet door that way, so that it gets locked with the doorknobs in between.
Right.
Mhm.
And then her dad can't come in and see that Billy's on the bed or on
So,
the side on the floor.
a little departure here. What do you guys think Skeet Ulrich's real name is?
It's like Jim or something.
No. Skeet Ulrich is a way better name, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Brian
Brian.
Ray Trout. Skeet Ulrich's a way better name.
Yeah.
Brian Ray
yeah.
Trout.
I mean, unless he's like a fisherman singer. Anyway, so yeah, the dad leaves and Brian Ray Trout is still in the room.
So then she kicks him out of the window. Just be like, yeah, you got to go home. I don't need you to be here doing this stuff right now.
Right.
Because her dad is going on a business trip and he's still here. But
Right.
so then he's real sad and he's like, what's our relationship? What's it even? Not reading the room at all.
Yeah, all of these teens in this movie, all they do is reference movies and movie things like, the relationships. It's a PG, but I want to be R, and let's push
Yeah.
for a PG-13.
And then she flashes him.
And then she flashes him, but
It's tasteful because you don't see it.
It's tasteful, yeah. It would have been funny if he just like fell out of the window in shock.
Yeah.
But they all like reference like scary movies.
But
And
that's
just,
the
like,
point.
different-
That's the point.
It is, and it's
To satirize, but take it a little serious at the same time.
Right, yeah.
And they do this for all the movies. Every movie has a different theme of
sure,
satirization.
And I listened. There's another YouTube video channel by the name of Dead Meat that they do like a kill count and whatnot.
Mhm.
And he was saying James Janice. No, I'm gonna get it wrong. James Janice, I think. I can't remember. Anyway. He was talking about the Movie Picture Association,
the MPAA,
the MPAA,
Motion Picture
they
Association
liked-
of America.
They liked the appeal it had about blaming movies for violence, and that's why they got away with so much blood in it and everything. So gay.
Yeah,
like
because
that
at that
thing.
time it was video games,
Right,
it was
there
TV,
video
it was
games, TV, yeah,
music, Satanism in the music.
D&D,
Yeah, anything that wasn't normal to adults.
marijuana, the devil's weed,
Devil's lettuce.
Anyway, yeah, devil's lettuce.
Anyway, so he's satisfied, I guess, and leaves.
Right.
And then it
Well,
comes.
I mean,
No
you
way.
got flashed by Nev Campbell. I mean,
Yeah. I guess.
she probably had like an undershirt on. Like, there's probably nothing showed at all.
No,
Like,
right, no.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really think he really left satisfied. I mean, yes, she flashed him, but
She was still alive. I think that was the.
that wasn't his end game
Well, his
Right.
plan
for
was
that night. Anyway.
his plan.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
His plan for that was just to have an alibi. Spoilers, but to have an alibi.
Oh, yeah. The whole movie, all the way up to the very end,
It's all very strategically planned out.
Yeah, anybody could logistically be the killer. I mean, in the movie, there's always those shades of doubt, which
Yeah.
I like how they did that. Where they played all of that. So and so might be the killer because he wasn't there. Or, so and so might be the killer. Because
This until they're dead,
right. And even then, when
You
a
don't
TV
know.
drops on you, you never know
Yeah.
if they're still alive.
or if you get stabbed in the back, you can just
Right.
still be alive.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, this is when we cut to
Blood loss is not a thing.
Yes, this is when we cut to the next morning at school,
Yeah.
There we
and you
go.
find out that Casey and Steve were murdered, and the whole school's
R.I.P.
going crazy, and there's news cameras and vans everywhere.
Right.
And then this is where you meet Gail Weathers, played by Courtney Cox.
Yep.
In between her fame with Friends, and then everything else she did after this, they didn't. Wes Craven or somebody else didn't want her to do it because they didn't think she could be nasty and mean.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess she proved it in the auditions. But they thought that she could only be, what's her name in Friends?
Monica.
Yeah.
Monica Geller.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that like a pirate, but
you only said it like the Ghostface.
yeah.
So they're doing a story on this, and we get some really good,
Exposition?
yeah,
Yeah.
just telling like that Gail did a story on the death of Sydney's mom,
Right.
and to Sydney's, like, to her knowledge, she made up a bunch of lies
Sure.
to spread them out, saying that.
Well, and you would say that about your mom too. Like if my mom,
Yeah,
was
you wouldn't if
like
you didn't.
that mom. I
Yeah.
also wouldn't believe it either.
No, and it's very believable. Every
Right.
character in this movie has they're very like real.
Yeah, I think they
Realistic
did a good job.
takes.
Yeah.
But she doesn't believe it. Then Gail's side of it is that someone else took the coat of the guy that was convicted.
Right. There's a
And-
setup and all that.
Yeah, and that Sydney's mom was I wouldn't say a prostitute, but just like
No, I think she was very
Like-
loose with her ideals.
yeah, I guess
I
she's
think that's
married,
a
but
good-
also
that's a good way of
sleeping
saying it.
around wasn't that big of a deal
Right.
to her morals.
Yeah, I think loose morals is a good way of saying that.
Yeah, but there's also like hints that Sid's dad was also doing that on his business trips when he went to hotels.
Well, they were probably children of the 70s, so
They probably got married young and didn't really.
they probably met at Woodstock.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they get to school and
Oh,
They-
and Sydney's dad is gone throughout the entire film. But
yeah, because he went on a
right,
business trip. So.
Right. So there's also that deniability, and is he actually on a business trip? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So she gets to class and they have a really nice, like semi-reference to the first Halloween,
Right, where
Sitting
she's
in
sitting
the-
in the classroom.
and she looks over and sees that there's no one in the seat.
Right.
In the first Halloween, it's not really like that. It's more like she looks out the window and
Right.
sees Michael out there,
Yeah.
but it still has the same effect.
Right.
That
Yeah,
you-
there's a lot of callbacks to Jamie Lee Curtis and Neve
Yeah,
Campbell's
yeah.
characters.
Mm-hmm. In the whole movie, like
Right.
they later on, they're like, "Why does every movie that we're watching tonight have Jamie Lee Curtis in it?"
yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, they get through that, and it's just like a normal school day for the most part otherwise. And at this point, they're talking at like the fountain about what happened that night.
Right. That's where you get to introduce to like all of the main cast.
Yeah.
Stu. You have what's his face? Jamie Kennedy's character.
Randy Meeks.
Randy Meeks, and then you have Billy, and then you have Tatum and Neve Campbell's characters, and they're classic, kind of hang out by the quad kind of teens,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you have like Tatum's is talking about how Casey, supposedly left Stu for the football player.
Yeah, and then
they
there's
said,
like,
well,
wait,
didn't
I thought you yeah.
right. So there's that little motive.
Motives
piece.
are incidental,
Right.
but
And Randy is a boss in this movie.
Yeah,
I love
everything-
him so much.
everything that he says is right. Like
Right.
if I was him, I would be like after this movie being like, I was right. I told them they could have.
Right.
We could have stopped this early, but
Him and Gail were pretty spot on with a lot of their
Mhm.
with a lot of their assumptions. Yeah.
yeah, there's not really a character that you're like, oh, why do you keep saying stuff?
Right.
Like everyone's really realistic, and you can get behind them, even if
Right.
you think that they're the killer. You
even if
understand.
they're jerks.
yeah,
Like Stu in that scene was a jerk, and he just had bad
yeah,
jokes all the time. Liver alone.
I mean,
Come on.
Yeah.
Stu's character in general was just a jerk.
I mean, he's kind of like that in any film he's in, really. I
yeah.
mean,
Matthew Lillard, he's like,
yeah.
but he,
I mean,
he makes the movie though with
Shaggy
his,
was okay. I mean, Shaggy was he played Shaggy really well, but
he makes the movie with his crazy mannerisms and
Right.
stuff. Without it, the character wouldn't be the same. It
Right.
would not be as much as it is. But at this point, I think we should explain like Billy Loomis is a reference to
Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis
Yeah.
from Halloween, but it might also be a reference to Sam Loomis from Psycho, the
Oh, there you
boyfriend,
go.
the boyfriend of Marion Crane.
The duality.
Hmm.
And then Stu, his last name is Mocker. Stu Mocker, Joel Schumacher.
Oh, I didn't get that one. Yeah.
He did. I think he did the original Wrong Turn or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I never
I don't
saw
know,
The
he
Wrong
did-
Turn.
He did something like really significant to the horror genre before.
Okay.
But most people just know him for Batman and Robin.
Oh,
But
that Batman and Robin.
yeah, but he also did like Phone Booth too. So it's a pretty good.
Was that the one where the guy is stuck in the phone booth for?
Yeah, with
Which is totally irrelevant nowadays because there are no more phone
What is a
booths.
phone
Yeah.
booth?
Yeah, a phone booth is where Superman used to change in.
Oh my
he
god.
he did the Lost Boys.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And
I never saw that one, but I need to see that one.
Yeah, so he did the Lost Boys and
Could you imagine somebody's like, I watched the movie Lost Boys thinking it was going to be about Peter Pan's band of kids.
I was
I was totally wrong.
I was about ready to say when Jared said Lost Boys, I was about ready to go of Neverland.
Were you going to bust out in that one song talking about I'm the lost boy of Neverland?
That's I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
referencing that.
Yeah, okay.
so anyway, after that we go to like they go back inside.
Yeah, they have the rest of they find out that like school's canceled or no, that's
Later on.
that's later on. Yeah.
But
There's all these people running around in school with ghost
Mhm.
face masks on, and you see the principal, Winkler
yeah.
and
well,
all.
not that's not
No, that's after. But yeah, I'm
You
skipping the
see,
scene.
yeah. So after that, they go home,
Yeah, they go home.
and they're at the fountain. They're giving away all their alibis.
Right.
'Cause Stu
right.
was with Tatum, Riley,
They're setting up all
and
that.
then Randy was at work,
Right.
and then obviously you knew where Sid and Billy were.
Which I have some qualms about that particular thing where Stu and Tatum were together apparently, and that sets up that alibi.
Well, yeah, they were, but like, when were they together? Were they
Right.
together before or after? And Randy says that, but they don't give you an answer.
Right.
So that
right.
has
Because
your-
I feel like they're
That piques your interest in,
yeah.
and he could be the one. But
Right. Like I feel like that scene needed more than one killer to set up all of that jazz. So maybe Casey is just a late night Jiffy Popper. I don't know.
But anyway, so they go home.
That's how I'm going to describe myself on Twitter. I'm a
Jiffy
late
Popper?
night Jiffy Popper.
So they go home, and Sid's at her house, and she falls asleep on the couch with her shoes on. I don't understand why.
Well, okay, she was waiting for Tatum, I think, because
And
she
she
was
just fell
she was
asleep?
watching the news, and then she kind of fell asleep. So I kind of forgive. Like me, I always kick my shoes off when I enter the house anyway.
yeah,
so
that's
like,
just like obvious. I've never
they
like.
looked pretty white sneakers though, so they were probably good.
Yeah, but it's a movie.
It's a
It just
movie.
happens.
Right. It's a
So-
movie about killer people, so
So Tatum calls and says that she's on the way to her house right now.
right. It's
Because
like
they're gonna
5
hang out.
hours lapsed or
yeah,
something like that.
It was like she calls and he's like, oh, it's 7 p.m.
yeah.
And then she hangs up, and then it rings again, and she thinks it's Tatum again, but it's actually the ghost face.
Right.
But they never say that, like, the name Ghostface
No,
in
they
any
don't.
of these movies up until like 3 or 4.
On the package where they show like they went to the store and bought one to see that it's in every costume
Yeah.
shop. It's like Father Scream or
Father
some
Death.
Father Death, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think the
original-
I think it more alludes to the fact that it is during the fall because there are costume shops.
Yeah.
Because you never see like Spirit Halloweens in February and March now.
Yeah.
Although I wish they would. They sell some good stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then
Now you will.
Yeah, not sponsored, by the way. Spirit Halloween, if you want to sponsor us. It'd be
Hit
a
us up.
Scream working with you. Ha 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 ha.
But anyway, so this is
Let's give it a stab.
so this caller, and she thinks it's Randy.
Cut
Right.
it out, Jim.
Right, because he starts talking about horror movies. What's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking like a pirate now.
She's like, okay, Randy, it's
Right.
fine. He's like, I'm not Randy though.
Right.
And then she starts freaking out. This is a reference to When a Stranger Calls, like anything with the phone.
I think this whole movie is a reference to Stranger Calls. Because
Yeah.
it's
but
very...
it's like anytime they answer the phone,
Right.
that's what it is.
Right.
So she starts freaking out a little bit, and then like Ghostface breaks into her house.
Right. They do this whole thing about, they talk about the, the third question is what door am I at? Or
Yeah, that was the
that was the
Casey.
furthest Casey. Yeah. They're very
Yeah.
similar in tone.
That was the bonus round.
That was the bonus round. Yeah.
But they don't really ask questions to Sid. They're just like,
No,
I
well,
just
what's
want
your
you to
favorite
know-
movie? Your mother, died, so it's such and such.
yeah, like you hang up on me, I'm gonna kill you like your mother.
Yeah.
And then that's when she gets freaked out and goes outside. And then
Well,
like,
no. She goes outside initially because she calls the bluff,
Mhm.
and she's
'cause
like
he
picking
said-
her nose.
Yeah, it's like, what am I doing right now? What am I
Right,
doing
and
right
then
now?
then she goes inside, and that's when the whole gut you thing.
Yeah, I'll gut you like a fish.
And then she goes inside, locks the doors, and then he busts out through the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Ghostface says, I'm on your front porch.
Right.
Yeah, and then
So
she's
she-
like,
so-
sure,
Yeah, she goes,
sure.
sure. So she opens the door. She goes out.
Right.
She's looking around. She's like, oh, can you see me? He's like, yes. And she starts picking her nose. She's like, she's like, so what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm calling
Yeah.
your bluff.
Right.
Yeah.
She goes back inside.
And then he
And then-
breaks in through the.
Now here's
Closet.
the question: was he in the closet the entire time?
I don't think so. I think he was outside.
He was
And
outside.
then when
She
she-
went out. He ran through the house into the closet and closed the door.
Well, no, when she went outside and around her balcony type thing, she threw the door open, and he probably just ran in through the door.
Could you imagine like a behind the scenes kind of like he's just like running through, around
Well, there's
the house?
there's a very interesting video.
Talking about like the logistics of it.
Well, yeah, of the
Yeah.
of the Casey Becker kill at the beginning.
Okay.
there's a
okay.
very interesting like
Sure.
animated video on how
How
they-
it could
how
have-
they-
how
how the
it happened.
timeline of it all went,
Right.
based on like movie clips, and then they go to the animation of how the people were moving around,
Right.
the layout. It's really interesting.
Now, did they take into account like the time elapsed from like the Jiffy Pop started to when it
Yes.
like blew up in fire?
Yeah, yeah.
Can it like actually burn that quickly?
I assume so, because it's just like tin foil.
Yeah. Well, and essentially it's the popcorn inside that's burning, right? Like,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's what's burning inside.
Mhm.
So yeah. Huh. I'll have to
I don't
watch
know. That would have to be a film theory.
Yes.
It's like making Orville Redenbacher popcorn, and you leave it in a little too long.
Yeah.
or Act 2.
No.
Uh-huh.
All right. So the Ghostface breaks into her house and starts attacking her. And she, as we foreshadowed earlier with her dad breaking, like her closing the door on him, she closes the door on Ghostface too, in the same way. And then he walks away or like just gets fed up and goes somewhere else.
Well, no. She tries calling the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Phone is cut off.
Right.
Yeah.
Then she tries on her computer.
Yeah, you could actually dial the police on your computer.
And that worked, I think.
Yeah,
it-
yeah. She
and it
dialed
did work.
911, and it's like, "What's your emergency?"
Yeah, and that
And then
was
she,
it.
I don't think she said anything.
Yeah.
No, because by that point the Ghostface killer went away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ghostface went away.
And
And then
then
Billy
Billy.
comes in through the door.
Billy comes in
Or the
through
window again.
Through, yeah.
And
Again.
she's like hugging on him, being like, "Oh my god," or something, and then the phone falls out of his pocket.
Which, can we be honest here? I mean,
But that's a pretty
that's not incriminating though.
Well, no, it kind of is though, because like at the same time you gotta wonder, like back in the '90s, not everyone had a cell phone.
yeah, but his dad looked pretty rich in the next
But
scene
you
when he's
didn't-
with the cop though.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I don't know. I feel like that is not an automatic.
if the person said they saw her, then they would have to have a cell phone.
Well, no, sure, you're assuming that they have a cell phone, but
and then-
like also
in your
the
mind
movie,
when you're traumatized like that and you see a phone fall
no,
out
no,
of the
that's the other part. Like, so the time between the person at the door disappears and Billy appears in the window, there is really no significant time that they easily could have been, right there. So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, I think in this scenario, Billy is clear, but
her traumatic
experience mixed with the cell phone falling,
Yeah, like
yeah,
the Ghostface could have been gone for 10 minutes for all she knew. It was
Right.
Adrenaline and all that.
right.
So she punches him and pushes him away and runs
Right.
back down the stairs.
opens the door,
Door,
and then
and-
there's a face.
The
But
Ghostface.
It's
It's
just
Dewey.
Dewey, played by David Arquette.
Yes.
Yeah.
The best part of all of these movies.
Yes.
The most like lovable guy you'll ever meet.
Yes.
You'd want him to be your best friend,
Yes.
but
Plus, he
kind
has
of-
ice cream with him all the time.
Yeah, and but he is kind of
He's a doof
yeah. He's kind of useless most of the time,
most of the time.
but he always has the courage to do.
He's
what
got
has
your
to happen
back, even though he gets stabbed in the back
more than once.
more than once. That guy takes a beating.
Yeah.
He's like a Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he's like in the I won't spoil it because Kenny hasn't.
Yeah,
seen
Kenny
the
has not
second one. I was
seen the
about to say
second,
something
third,
about the
fourth,
second
or
one.
fifth movies.
Oh, I
Or
love the
sixth.
fifth one.
Well, the sixth one's
Sixth
not
one's
out
coming
yet.
out next month.
I know. So
Oh.
none of us have seen it.
You that
That's
you know of? Maybe I saw it. I got connections.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it says the person who couldn't get this movie to change their name.
What?
Thought we were talking in this movie.
What did I say they wanted to be? I'm so confused now, Kenny. Anyway.
yeah. Anyway, okay. Weird, but I'm gonna
I
put
know.
this point out here right now. For the next few weeks, every
Oh yeah.
couple days, we're gonna be releasing a new review of each movie in the series up to the release of Scream 6. And we're going to do a review and release it the day it comes out.
Okay, cool.
So be prepared for that. You're going to get a lot of Scream material from us. And
You'll
if you don't
be-
really like the horror movies, give this one a shot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as gory as you think it's going to be. It's not as
I will say the first Scream was pretty bloody.
yeah. I think it's the worst one in terms of
I don't know. The fifth one, you haven't seen the fifth one. It has a lot of violence and a lot of like it
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
but it has a lot more of
It does its job.
a satirical
Oh yeah.
poke at the industry and less of a sense of we're gonna kill people and make gore just for the sake
Oh
of it.
sure. That's why I love these this franchise is because of the
It's very smart.
satirical take it has on current horror genre tropes. And
Yeah.
I mean even the fifth one, it talks about like legacy characters and all that. It's so
Mhm.
great. It's so great.
All right, so back to the review.
Back to the synopsis.
Yeah. So then after Dewey takes her to the police station.
Yep. Billy gets arrested.
Yeah, because she says it was him.
Yep.
Because turns out she was right.
I mean, yeah.
So
Technically.
so they go to the police station and they do the whole
The
All
whole
of it.
thing, all the
his-
cop
Billy's
stuff.
dad gets called in and finds out that it's his cell phone or something, and they're gonna hold Billy for a little bit just
Right.
to figure it out. So the next day, they're at school, and people have started
Running around with
playing
ghost
pranks.
face masks.
Yeah, and it scares Sid so bad that she goes into the bathroom,
Right.
and then this cheerleader and another random girl just come out of a stall saying that Sydney is making it all up.
such a drama queen.
Yeah, and like maybe she's the one that's killing everybody.
Like OMG.
And this cheerleader girl is her acting is so wooden and bad. But when you know the
She's so
fact
basic.
she was dating Skeet Ulrich during the production of this movie, so
I bet she didn't know his last name was Trout.
probably not. But
I bet she did, and I don't think she cared.
Oh, she's
Yeah,
a
probably
bottom
not.
feeder. Get
But
it? Fish themed trout. Ha.
but that gives the reason why she's not that great.
Right. And so they leave, and there's actually a ghost face killer. Maybe
yeah.
Maybe it's not really the ghost. Maybe it's not really
I don't think-
one of them.
I don't think it is one of them.
Right, because like that
But it-
one did a really bad job of frightening her. Like,
But they do have I have seen online. I haven't really looked into it too much. That the glitter on the Ghostface robes, you can always tell when the real Ghostface is there because it has the glitter, and the fake ones don't.
I kind of have to call into question the logistics of this one.
Yeah, that's also true because
Because
Stu's
you-
out in the.
Well, Stu's
Out in
out
the-
in there, and Billy's around the corner. But like even then,
How could they get there, getting dressed, getting it?
Well-
Know she was going to be in that bathroom.
right? And the person's just hiding, like standing on the toilet. Like even
Yeah.
then, it's like, I don't know.
Were they going to get Sydney or was it going to get somebody else? And then they heard it was her voice talking, and then they said her name, and it could be a million.
Or
different
maybe it was
things.
just a figment of her imagination.
I mean, that's also true. But
I mean, otherwise you just got one of the killers standing on a toilet in the corner bathroom just waiting.
Yeah.
In a high school where there's bathrooms all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense for these killers.
It's
but,
a 90s horror movie. I'm not looking into it that hard.
Yeah. So, at this point...
She rushes out of the bathroom, runs into Troutman.
Yeah. So, then it cuts to the principal's office.
Right.
After she gets all freaked out. And
Right.
she's sitting there talking with the police and the principal, played by Henry Winkler.
Mm-hmm.
He's very creepy in this movie.
He is kind of odd, and I think that gives the suspicion of like
A
is
red
he or isn't
herring.
he? Yeah, another fish reference. Yeah, because he has this like interaction with the two kids that run around in the mask, where he's like pointing like this very sharp like shears,
Scissors, yeah.
and he's
like, I should cut you right now for what
Right,
you did. And
right,
it's
and
just like, whoa.
he puts on the mask and he's looking at himself in the mirror. So
Mhm.
it's like you know Henry Winkler isn't running around.
But if
he's an old man he's not
Yeah.
going to be running around.
But then he expels the two kids
Right.
that were doing the pranks the first time that we see. And then he calls for school to be indefinitely suspended
Right.
and curfew at 9 p.m. And
Which how can they really enforce? Like it's a
Curfew?
school. Like
I mean, I guess they could. It's a small town.
yeah. I don't
I don't know. And if they say don't go to school, the kids aren't going to go to school.
know. Could you imagine like there's this like one guy, but I want to learn about physics.
So after this is all done, he's Henry Winkler, the principal, is sitting.
Yeah,
in the,
school's out.
He's like putting the
He's
the
goofing
mask
around.
on,
Yeah.
which is weird. I think this might be a continuity issue because he cut the mask with the scissors, but when he puts it on, it's intact.
But there was also two kids running around with
Possibly,
masks
yeah.
on. So
Well,
I'm thinking that he had one
Just
of them.
had the other one.
right.
Yeah, because he cut one,
Mhm.
Right.
and
I just
then-
didn't. I didn't see two,
and
so
then
I
he
didn't know.
grabbed the other one, but he never cut that one.
Right.
And
right.
I think he actually had one too
Mhm.
of his own.
Maybe. I mean,
I'm sure there was more than two kids running around.
Yeah,
with masks
maybe
that day.
the police brought him one. That was
Right.
like, hey, this is what we're looking
Yeah.
at. So he puts it on. It's like
He's like,
weird.
"Ooga booga."
And he scares himself with his own reflection.
Right. It's so great.
Several times.
It's Henry Winkler for
So
you.
then he looks out into the hallway and nothing's there.
Well, because he hears a knock on
Yeah,
the
he
Well,
hears a
no,
knock
no,
on
no.
the
He walks out the hallway the first time, and there's nothing. And then he walks back in, and then he hears a knock, and he walks out there, and Fred, the
right.
janitor,
Best cameo ever.
yeah, Wes Craven, the director, is cameoing in his own movie dressed as Freddy, the character he created for his other big franchise that he did.
Right. Who Freddy is, a janitor of a school that kills kids.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
that's actually really funny
It's
too.
like a triple deep
yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "Oh, hey Fred, have a good night" or whatever, and goes back
Yeah.
inside, closes the door, and Ghostface is behind the door.
Right. And then Henry Winkler dies.
He has the most
Very dramatic death.
yeah, he has the most unnatural scream, but at the same time the most natural.
And can you
It's
imagine?
a very uncanny valley type. I don't know if,
Right.
if it's bad or if it's
Because
really
he's just
realistic.
standing there getting stabbed over and over again. And is it weird that like Fred doesn't even notice?
I don't know. Maybe Fred walked
Like
away.
he's like, he was mopping. Like
I don't know. Maybe he stopped. Maybe
he just didn't like
Henry.
Henry Winkler at all, and he's like,
Possibly.
good riddance. And Henry Winkler dies. No more happy days. They're all sad days.
So after this, they're
I like the groan, Kenny. It made my day.
after this they're
You're welcome. No one else heard it but you.
Kenny groaned.
they're getting ready for a party. And
Yeah.
Stu.
To celebrate being off of school.
Yeah. So Stu says I'll go to his house that night.
Right. Because his
And then-
parents are gone.
Yeah. And this is before Henry Winkler dies
Yeah.
because
yeah.
Stu has to stay behind and do it.
Right.
So, Tatum and Sid
Well, it
are
could have
walking
been
home.
Billy. Because
It could have
they
been
were
either
walking
one.
away with. I mean, you don't see Billy after the whole hallway scene.
Yeah, it could be either one. Of them.
Right.
I think there is the way that they hold the knives is different, so it could be
Yeah.
there is a definite answer to this question.
Sure.
I don't know it off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but anyway, it's one of them.
Right.
So then they all walk away, and next scene is it's either no, it's when they go to the video store and see Randy.
Yeah.
And Stu comes in. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna come to the party tonight?" He's like, "Yeah, I get off early, curfew."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You'd be surprised how many people go to the horror section when there's murders going on or whatever."
Which that is an accurate observation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's funny.
Yeah. So then,
Okay, so my question is,
Yes.
how can a principal call for a curfew?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he worked with the cops.
I don't know, the chief was there the whole time.
Right.
So he's probably working the
Right.
same. I don't know.
But why make the principal give the announcement for a curfew? Like
Well,
I get the announcement that school is done.
Mm-hmm.
for-
Right.
Well,
for the
and
time being.
all the kids are at the school when he announces it. The kids are going to tell the parents. It's the most easiest
This
way
was
to
the
get all the
90s.
information.
They didn't have like text messages or instant emails.
Well,
or,
it's
you
like
know.
Like I'm not
Right.
Immediate news.
Right.
like
Facebook and
like
all that.
I'm not trying to say
Right.
like to them like get on the phone and call every single parent.
Right, right.
It was just weird that you make the principal give the announcement that
Right.
you have a curfew even though school
It
is
should
over.
it should have been like, yeah, it's the cops and the school have worked together to institute a curfew. They should have worded it probably a little bit
Yeah,
better.
they should have.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. We're not remembering.
Well, that's true.
But
Well, I don't even think they did. I think
They
was
just said curfew at 9:00.
yeah, school's over for
the
now
foreseeable future.
for the foreseeable future, but you have a curfew and it is at what 9
Right.
o'clock?
Yeah, 9 p.m.
Right.
And all the kids are angry about it.
Right.
Hey,
but-
kids are kids.
Yeah. So we're back at the video store, and Stu's there, and Randy's telling him, "Well, it's obviously Billy. Like, look at him. He's over there." And like they're doing all this stuff, and they're talking about how like Randy does like Sid a little bit. It's like,
Right.
Do you think she'll like break up with him for me? And then
Which you're gonna tell that to Billy's best friend? Why would you say that?
Exactly.
I don't know. Randy's he's a very like, I'm gonna speak my opinion, and that's gonna be
Sure,
it. Like
sure.
that's his
Randy
character.
doesn't care. Randy says he doesn't care what Billy thinks about him, but he's afraid of Billy.
Yeah, but
You
he-
see that like 2 seconds later. in
Oh,
that
for
film.
sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then Matthew Lillard has the best delivery of the lines. You'll have to watch the clip to really get it because
Yeah.
we're not going to try and recreate it here.
No.
But so he says no, 100% not, and then turn around and Billy's there grabbing Randy by the scruff of his shirt,
Mhm.
and they're like, he's like accusing him. He's like, "Why aren't you the killer?"
Right.
He's like, "Well, like everyone," and he starts getting angry.
Yeah.
Like, you could be the killer. And Randy's like, everyone in here could be the killer. Gets really loud, and
Right.
everyone stops and looks at him. And then, like, the tension is diffused by them just walking away. Being
Right.
like, "Oh, you're coming to the party. We'll see you there."
Which I would not be going to that party. If I was
No.
Randy and they had that interaction with those two,
No, but he would go there for Sid,
for Sid,
and he's the movie guy. They're watching
Right.
movies. He's probably the one bringing all the movies.
I'm sure he is because he works at the store.
yeah. And people, for the most part, all the
And
people
there's
there.
beer.
Yeah, the people there at the party seem to like him, so he's not really like the
Oh,
ostracized
he's a very
nerd.
charismatic dude. Yeah.
He's not like in most movies he'd be like, Randy's the nerd and no one likes him.
but
But in this
it's-
one they're like, oh, everyone likes him
right.
for enough.
It's funny to me though that Randy is such a live by the rules of a horror movie guy, yet he's had that interaction with two very questionable individuals, and he's still going to go to a party.
I guess his whole
I
thing
don't
is
know.
just-
Like it was a stupid move.
it might be
on
just his whole
part.
thing that Sid's gonna be there and he likes her, and that might be
Yeah.
blinding his judgment.
But like he never really guarded Sid. Like he
No.
wasn't really there with Sid a lot. He was with the group watching the movie. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, he might say he likes Sid and everything, but he was like he's more of a lover of movies than he is of
Yeah,
Sid.
but he's
in
also
that
not.
certain instance.
He's not one of those guys that's gonna be too pushy with it.
Oh sure, no, yeah,
If
he's
if
a very
she wants him, she will tell him, and he's gonna be living just
right.
chilling his
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Well, it's like we do forget, like he did shoot his shot with her, but
He did try.
I mean, it went nowhere.
Right.
But I mean, he did have that opportunity
He
to
did.
at least talk to her. But
Yeah,
I
and
mean-
and
but-
it's already
but,
like
yeah.
put in that they're friends to begin with. So it's
Right.
not
right,
that big a
exactly.
deal.
So it was already like predetermined that he's been friend zoned.
Yeah, for right
Right.
now. But in the phone call, when she thinks it's him, she's like, "Oh, your voice is sexy."
Right.
Like that says that she might like him, and they have a lot of chemistry together, the two actors.
Right.
And you could see it. You could see, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, I think the acting was
especially
pretty well
after this
done with
movie.
all of
In the
them.
second one, when they in the second one when you see him,
He's in the second one, Kenny. Now that it's already been,
yeah, it's
it's
Gosh.
okay though.
Spoiler alert, man.
okay.
The second one is a hodgepodge of errors, but
yeah, yeah.
you'll
But-
see that.
But you'll see him within like the
rewritten scripts.
he's in like the first like 5 minutes of this movie of the second one, so it's not that big of a spoiler.
Yeah.
But they're like super close best friends in this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same level that she has with Dewey and Tatum. They're like
Right.
all, you know, there's no bad blood. They love each other. They'll do whatever they need to do to be friends, you know.
Right.
Anyway.
I'll correct your grammar right there. Had.
Oh, because well, Tatum at this point at the party, Tatum's still alive. So
Yeah. So we get that, and then we go to one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie is when the police chief is telling Dewey to stay close to Sid for the night.
right.
And every time that the officer chief smokes his cigarette, Dewey licks his ice cream.
Right.
And it's just over and over and over. And it's just so funny once you realize that's what's going on.
I kind of wanted him to put the cigarette out into the ice cream.
Well, I think,
Yes.
I kind of, but he's not that much of a jerk.
no, he's
The police chief isn't a jerk, so I can see
No,
why he
see,
did.
I
he's just
wanted-
kind of incompetent,
I'm not saying
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he did what he could.
Yeah.
No, I wanted Dewey to like drop his ice cream and then step on it
Well, no,
too.
And then fall.
this might be a Mandela effect, but I remember it that way. Like the chief drops the cigarette and squishes it, and then Dewey drops his ice cream. Like,
yeah.
because they're all doing the exact same thing.
Right.
But I remember that happening, but I guess it doesn't. But anyway, they cut to after that. He's walking down the steps, and he sees Gail for the first time. They
Yep.
meet, and they're having like a really flirty first interaction. They have really good chemistry off each other. Spoiler alert: they got married in real life, so
Right.
they really did have that much chemistry. So, and she's talking about the party, or he's talking about the party, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll just bring you with me." He has no idea that her and Sid have had issues, because earlier in the movie she wants to do an interview with Sid, and Sid punches her in the face.
I'll give you a copy of her book.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy. Boom.
Whammo.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice hit too, by the
Yeah,
way.
it was. It was solid.
It was a solid hook.
Yeah, later on they're like, "Do you need some ice for that hook?"
Yeah, right.
So then we go at the party, and we are like, everyone's having a great time. They're drinking. They got a bunch of movies, all Jamie Lee Curtis movies, because she's the original Scream Queen, even though her mom was the original Scream Queen.
And Dewey arrives there, and he's really bad at his job at that point. Because not
Yeah.
only is there teens drinking, but there's also a curfew.
Yeah, but he's there specifically to make sure
He
Sid's
wants
okay.
to impress Gail and all that.
And
I
his
mean,
job is to make sure Sid's okay,
Right.
Not to be a buzzkill for everybody.
Right.
But
Right.
he does. He comes in. He's like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be drinking." I'm kidding.
Yeah, have a good time. Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
I mean, when you're that age, you kind of like.
Drunken driving kills more than two guys in a Scream mask.
So
Almost killed Dewey.
yeah,
I mean, if he was a real police officer, he would have been canned.
Right.
He would have
So
been
Yeah.
hard.
canned.
So hard. Because it'd be like, okay, Dewey, you were here this entire time, right? Yes, sir. Why wasn't this like a kibosh put on this? Like, all these
But-
people would have survived if you had
but
put
what,
down the party.
What does this town care about more, keeping the girls safe or Buzz
think-
killing the party?
I think they're alcohol sales, honestly. I mean,
Maybe.
a lot of beer was consumed in that night.
Yeah. So
Oh,
he
yeah.
walks in with Gail, and Tatum sees it, and it's like, "Oh my God, you brought her!" Like,
Right.
so. Then it gets to like Gail puts a camera down, with like puts it. And it's the most obvious camera.
Yeah.
but she hides it inside the entertainment center next
Right.
to some books or.
Which is not the first time she does. It is the first time, but not the last time she does it in this
No,
franchise.
Yeah, for sure. So then, her cameraman Kenny is in the car. Not
Poor
this
Kenny.
Kenny.
Poor
not
Kenny.
not Kenny Kramer.
Not the Kenny in front of us.
Okay.
Kenny has a really interesting take on how Kennys are interacted with, apparently.
and dispatched.
Well, okay, because earlier on, Gale just absolutely rips into Kenny because he was too, quote, slow coming out of the van and calls him a fat lard and uses a word, well, I'm not going to say on here.
Right.
And
Move your fat keister.
yeah, move your fat keister. Yeah. And it's like, really? So, okay. And I get the stigma that Kennys, along with Kenneths, are deemed as stupid and idiots.
I had no,
I
I had no
had-
clue about this.
The
stigma.
only Kennys I
My
knew
name
ever.
is not Kenny though, so I imagine if it was,
Well,
I'd
okay,
be more
you-
sensitive to it.
the only
yes.
Kennys I know in media are the one from this movie and Kenny from South Park.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are there any more that you can think of that like have been
Trying to think.
depicted in a
like,
bad way?
Like I've not, like, in movies, no.
there was
In Instagram reels,
there was
yes.
there was a
Are they like Karens in that aspect?
no. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. I'll.
I didn't know if there was like a template, like a Karen, as far as like.
I mean,
a Kenny,
I'll
yeah.
break. I remembered another Kenny. So the Kenny in the Telltale Walking Dead game, he's pretty awesome. So that he's pretty awesome. So you'll have to like.
There's Kenny Rogers.
Oh, that is true.
Apparently, there's a Kenny in Breaking Bad.
Oh gosh. No.
Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, he wrote the really good songs
Yeah.
for Top Gun. So
Yeah.
anyway, not all Kennys are bad. Just broaden your interests.
Anyway,
I know you're Kenny, so you should know. But
broaden your interest on the Kennys in society. Oh.
maybe you can get a podcast started called The Kenny Project.
Yeah. Yeah, the Kenny Project. That's a good one.
So they're at the party,
Yes.
and they're all
Kenny G.
Kenneth G. Rare Coins.
not sponsored,
Kenny Chesney.
I don't want them to be a sponsored, by the way.
but they could be if you.
No.
Aw.
Anyway, so they're at the party, and they're all watching these movies, and Randy gets up and starts giving the rules.
All right, first rule.
You can't have sex. Everyone
Didn't-
gets
didn't-
angry.
Didn't we miss something? Because we missed
Not,
the death
no, Tatum
of
dies. Tatum dies first.
Tatum dies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the strongest garage door takes her out.
Yeah, but like this was before they had the sensors on garage doors that would stop it if something was
Right.
blocking away.
Which it probably wouldn't have killed her anyway. That because
no, but
the garage door is able to lift
Mhm.
a full grown teenager
yeah,
of probably light to mid build.
probably like 120 pounds.
I would
max.
say a 120 Hondo, yeah,
max.
max.
But-
and then snapper neck. Like that's a
Yeah.
pretty strong garage door.
But so in this scene, she's like, "Oh, it's just someone dressed up because everyone's been dressing up,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "Don't kill me, Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel." And he's like, "Okay." So she
Yeah.
starts chasing her, and she beats the crap out of him.
She does a really good job defending herself.
And then she does the stupid thing of crawling through the cat door.
Yeah, why
she
would you,
tries
by
to
the
call
way?
through the cat door. I don't. Oh.
I don't understand. Like that's one of the but see, it worked for Sydney later on in the film,
Yeah,
crawling through a little hole like that.
But,
But
at
like,
the same time,
but like
they don't-
Tatum, she should have like stayed and fought.
yeah.
There's so much stuff in that
And
garage.
It's even a surprise that it killed her to Ghostface because he looks at it and be like, "Huh,
Yeah,
I don't know, bye," and he just
Right.
goes back inside the house.
right.
So after this, Randy's given all the rules of a horror movie and how to
Right.
survive.
Rule number 1.
You can't have sex, and everyone's so angry about that.
Right.
They're like, "No, no, no, no." Look
then
at
it-
all these movies. The Virgin always lives.
Right, because it was the whole '80s slasher films of trying to be like
Friday
only
the
the
13th.
pure will. They're trying to teach lessons to teenagers about the hazards of drinking and sexual relations and all
Like
of that.
In the Friday the 13th movies,
Right.
they all die.
Yeah, the
In
can't.
the first Nightmare on Elm Street,
Right.
the boyfriend and the first
First death is
because
that
they had sex.
right?
I mean, it's not specifically, but
right,
it
but
is.
it is at that
Yeah.
time frame. Yeah.
Halloween, same thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And they're watching Halloween on the TV at the same time.
Right.
So
They,
it's-
they were trying to impress the dangers of all of those immoral actions by having the bad guy brutally kill them in that manner.
Mhm.
Yeah. So second rule.
Well, after the first rule, it cuts to
Oh, during that you have
Yeah.
you have
it
Sydney
cuts
and
to
Billy
Sid
Loomis.
and Bidney doing the business, doing the
The
Yeah.
Devil's Tango.
yeah, doing the Watusi up in the bedroom.
The Watusi.
Yeah. So it cuts to like them doing that as he's explaining stuff.
Right.
So he's going
Right.
through all the rules of how to survive, and
Right.
so
Second rule. No drinking.
oh yeah, which
And
isn't as strong of a rule because
No.
or smoking or anything because in the
No
first
drugs
Halloween,
or alcohol.
in the first Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis smokes in the car.
Right.
She doesn't like it, and she like coughs it up. I mean,
Right.
but she still did it. So I mean,
Right.
that's not as hard of a rule as
Sure.
could be.
Sure.
And Randy's drinking in this movie too. So
Well, that's the whole thing. They're all breaking the rules.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every rule you see, they break. I mean.
yeah,
And then
Well,
the third rule.
Well, see, I like after the second rule too. Like they're like, everyone looks at their bottles of beer
Mhm.
and they're like, yeah,
they all
Yeah.
cheer.
and they all cheer. They start
Right.
toasting to that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like,
And then the third rule is
I'll be right back.
Because
Oh,
you
yeah,
won't be.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
won't be.
yeah,
And then
don't say I'll be right back.
Stu gets up and says, "Hey, Randy, you want another beer?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. I'll be right
I'll
back."
be right back.
That's
And
that's a great delivery of that line too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so they're doing that as you're cutting through
It's
from
kind of cycling.
between Randy talking and
Right.
then upstairs happening with
Yeah.
Sid and Billy, and
The
then
tango.
Gail and Dewey walking around outside,
All right, because they got a report of a car
like on the side of the road,
on
and
the side of the road,
and they find out
it
that it's
matches
Neil's.
that it's Sydney's
dad,
dad. Yeah.
Neil Prescott. So they're out there, and at this point, I don't know who figures it out. They might get a phone call.
They get a phone call that
But-
Henry Winkler died.
Well, Principal Hembry is strung up on the field goal.
yeah.
I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah, especially since like it had to have been done before the party.
And it was in the middle of the day when they left school,
Right. I mean,
or like
it's-
3:00.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like probably some teachers, I would imagine.
And it like brought a football field. At least the school I went to, you can see the football field from the street.
Right. Like, I guess it just depends on where the football field is
I
compared
guess.
to the
And
school.
what if it was like darkness?
like they could have had a one of those like baskets full of balls or something and just like covered the body in there and then just like rolled them out.
I guess.
I guess there's way to like hide it, but still having two teenagers be doing that, it would be a little weird.
Yeah.
Plus, how are you going to get him up there? Like, how high
Unless
was it?
unless they just.
I want to know like if it was on a single goalpost.
He's probably on the crossbar.
I'm sure on the
Like-
crossbar,
like-
but even then you need a ladder at that point.
Yeah, but either way, they find
Did
that
they
out.
kick footballs at his corpse? Is what I want
Probably
to know.
not.
Sad times.
Well, I'm gonna add a little something.
You
something
hoist
to
the
this.
arms up in the air
I'm
to
gonna
form
add
like
a
a football,
little
and you kick it
little
right through.
spice to this.
Yes.
What if it wasn't the? Well, okay, let's just say they had the.
What if it was Fred the janitor?
Oh my gosh!
Is that what you're gonna
no,
say?
no,
I
no,
love it though.
no.
That'd be a nightmare.
No. Would you stop?
Anyway, sorry.
Okay. So what if it wasn't the main football field that they did?
Oh.
What if it was like a practice field? Because if it was a practice field,
Or like the junior high,
oh
like
my
all the little
gosh.
boys are like, "Let's go play some football." Ah!
Yeah, I guess. But
But I mean, if it was a practice field, it would be kind of more
It would
secluded.
be more secluded. But then, how did they find him?
I don't know. I think we're thinking too much into this right now.
Yeah, we're going
Right.
a little. This
Or
is-
they found him, and then later on, it was relayed to the teenagers at the party.
right.
I don't know. However way they found him.
Yeah. So They found him, and all the kids leave except for
Randy
Randy
and the
Stu,
two doing the tango
Billy,
upstairs. Yeah,
Sid, and then Gail and
Right.
Dewey outside.
and poor Kenny.
Yeah, and
He'll
Kenny.
never leave that address ever again.
And so Gail and Dewey see the cars, and they're like, "Hey, stop! Where are you going?"
Right. For some reason, Dewey thinks that he can just yell at him.
Well, I mean,
Oncoming traffic. He's just gonna
I
be
mean,
like,
yeah.
freeze.
well,
Come on.
you would
dude.
hope they'd stop. I mean, that's probably he's kind of a doofus, but he's doing the right. He's doing all.
I
the
bet
right
he had
stuff.
flashbacks of putting the beer back into the hand of the teenager and saying "have fun," and he's like, "Dumb
no.
ways to die."
Yeah, because you got to remember these kids were drunk,
and he knew it too.
and he knew it, and it was like he's yelling at them in a car, probably with the windows up too. They probably weren't down.
Probably loud
Saying,
music.
Yeah, so
Stop.
They
Stop.
Freeze. He actually says freeze.
Freeze.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
cars. Why are you like telling him to freeze? Like,
So they run back to the house.
right. They have
And-
that little moment where Dewey like jumps on, pushes Gale out of the way, and they like do the whole Lion King with Simba and Nala. And,
Yeah, they're
that
like,
kind of-
"Oh wow!" But you already knew that it was coming. Like,
Like,
yeah. So
circle of life. That whole thing. Anyway.
anyway, we're gonna sidebar that.
Yes.
So we come back to the house, and it's Sid and Billy are getting dressed again, I guess.
Right.
And it's all over, and everything's done.
Right.
So they're in there, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I accused you," and she's apologizing for everything.
Right.
And then Ghostface comes in and kills Billy.
Yes.
In quotations.
Gets him a couple times.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, please," and dies. In quotations.
Et tu, Brutus.
And then Ghostface like attacks Sid, and she like jumps out a window and falls onto a boat like cover.
Very conveniently placed boat.
Yeah, but
with
like
a cover.
in reality, that would kill anybody.
Probably
Those boat
because,
covers aren't meant to be like.
No, they're
cushions.
they're not like a tarp. There's like nothing underneath it except for like the boat stuff.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Weird,
She
but
probably broke her neck on one of the seats that were
Yeah.
underneath there.
but it's a movie, so
she's the
she
she's
lives.
the final girl.
She's the
so,
survivor.
Yeah.
So she
Now
goes.
I got that Beyonce song stuck in my head.
She goes up to the house, and she sees Tatum's body in the cat door,
Right.
and she's like freaking out even more now
Right.
because Billy's dead.
Tatum looks around
Tatum's
and goes
dead.
meow. No, she doesn't.
She gets up to the front of the house
Yeah.
and sees Dewey out because he got back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes and there's a knife in his back and
Right.
he falls down, dead
Sid.
presumably. And then she runs back in the house or just away.
Well, she runs to Kenny. Kenny
Yeah,
opens
yeah.
up the door. They watch through the little monitor thing that Randy and
Stu, I guess.
and Stu or the killer and Randy are like. Randy's like, "No, man, look behind you."
yeah, he's watching Halloween.
Right.
It's the scene where Lori is walking backwards.
Right.
And Michael's behind her, and
Right.
after she sees Judith Myers thing on.
Right. And then Kenny's like, "I'm gonna go help," and then he realizes
Realizes
that there's a delay.
Yeah, because it's set up earlier that there's a
There's a
delay between the
30-second
footage
delay, yeah.
because it took as long as it took for,
Right.
for her to walk back to the camera van.
Right.
So he looks in and sees the door wide open. He's like, "Oh gosh, 30-second delay."
Yeah.
Turns around, looks, turns back. He gets his throat
Which,
slashed.
let's be honest, that is a marathon of 30 seconds right there for that Ghostface killer guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. And he's doing it all sneakily because that's
Mhm.
like gravel road that they're on, too.
Yeah.
So for him to like sneak up on gravel road,
Well, he probably snuck
props
out
to the footwear provider of this
'cause
film.
her running and seeing Tatum's body and screaming.
Because
and her running to
he
the
went
van,
through
that's
the
in
back.
time.
He went through the back door because he didn't go through the front. You saw in the video that he snuck out through the back, through the kitchen area.
Yeah.
So he went through the back way and then came up around the side.
Yeah, but Sid
That-
was coming up from the back too, because
Well,
she saw at the garage.
Sid was coming from the farmyard because
Mhm.
she screams, and that's how the Ghostface killer leaves Randy alone,
And then goes out, and
then goes that direction. So even though 30 seconds,
it's more than 30 seconds.
it's more
at that
than
point.
30 seconds,
Yeah.
but still, it's
It's pretty good.
this guy has some great cardio.
Yeah. But anyway, so sad day. Kenny dies.
Kenny dies,
But right before he dies, he does the hero thing and points to the way out for Sid to get out through this tiny little hole in the side of the van.
yeah, but Why did she need to?
Well, she's probably gonna get slashed, overpowered.
The door was shut. I mean,
no,
yeah,
the door was open at that point.
Yeah, he was reaching through the window to try and unlock it.
Yeah, and he could.
I mean, but at that point, you grab something heavy and you smash the hand.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't
you're
get
just
why
you're
these
just trying to
people...
run. You just don't want to be in. You don't want to be in the danger at all.
Not me. I'm sheltering in place.
Well,
That's why I would have fought in the garage and I would
Maybe-
have fought in the van too. Like, there's a lot of heavy TV screens. That guy would have got what's coming to him.
well, he will
Well, yeah,
with a TV screen.
with a TV screen.
So, Sid gets away through the hole in the
Through the van, for some odd reason, there's a little tiny hole that
I don't
Tatum
know.
would have died
It's
again.
probably a
but
cord. A cord. Thing.
I'm sure there's some, which is probably not like, it's probably not like, it would not meet safety standards, I imagine.
No.
Because
no. I mean, maybe then
the
it
back
did.
door was completely barricaded except for that one little square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
anyway,
I
so
don't know why the
she-
Ghostface killer just didn't rush around to the back when he saw that Sydney was trying to escape through there.
I
But
don't know.
I don't know.
Adrenaline doesn't really care.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So she gets out and she runs to another car.
Yeah.
Dewey's police car, and then we get a whole scene with her trying to call the
Right.
station, and
Right.
he has the
The
Ghostface has
back
the keys.
door opens. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I like that scene.
Ghostface has the keys, trying to get in. She's trying to get out.
Right.
He attacks her. She does get out and just runs away.
Right.
You see Gail come back to the house. And she gets in the van,
Right.
and then Randy pops his head up. He's like, "Hey, help me!" And she punches him in the face a few times, knocks him out
Right,
on
right.
the ground. She drives away.
hits him with a phone.
Yeah, yeah. And then she drives
Randy.
away down the street, and she
The body
no,
of
no,
Kenny
no.
goes whipping off the car.
yeah, well, she sees the blood on the windshield, and she
Yeah.
wipes it off, and then his body falls. It's gross. But she's driving, and then Sid is in the street, and the same thing happens when her and Dewey were out there,
Right.
and the car swerves off, and she smacks into a tree.
Right.
So she's dead too.
You think?
Yeah. So Sid gets back to the house, and Randy and Stu are outside. And they're
Right.
like, "No, it's him. No, it's him. No,
Right.
it's him." And she just like, "Screw both of you," and closes
Right.
the door on him. And then she sees Billy come down the stairs, and he does a really nice like fall down the stairs. That would have probably killed anybody.
he does do a pretty good convincing
Fall.
fall.
Yeah. So then Randy gets in the house, I guess, because he's still at the door.
Yeah, he opens
And
up
Stu
the door.
left to try to get a different
Yeah.
way. But so he lets him in, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Stu's gone crazy," or he's gone mad.
Yeah.
And then Billy says, "We all go a little mad sometimes." Reference to
Shoots
Scream, and shoots him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And this is the whole reveal that it is Billy. And
Surprise! The two creepy guys giving each other wicked stares are
Yeah,
the
the whole
two
movie.
killers.
So then she's like, "Oh gosh," and she runs because she thinks that Randy's dead.
Right.
So she
right.
runs into the kitchen, and Stu's there. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Stu, help me!" And he grabs the voice thing. It says, "Surprise, Sydney."
Yeah, they both have one of those little voice
Yeah.
maker things.
Yeah.
Which the voice maker thing is done by a completely different dude too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
funny part. Yeah.
And he does cameos
Yeah.
now, so you can like actually make him say whatever you want him to say.
I want a triple burger with fries, large Diet Coke.
So they
That's what I'd have.
they start giving off their whole scheme of how they kidnapped her dad, and
Yeah, they
to
do the
make
big
it-
reveal, and it's like they're playing right into that horror movie trope.
but that's the whole
Just
point.
kill it.
But that's
Just
the whole-
kill Sydney.
But that's the whole point. They're
Yeah, and
satirizing
they
the whole
suffer.
thing.
It's funny. They don't break that rule, and they end up dying. The other ones break the rules, and
Yeah.
Sydney lives through it. I mean, it's great. It's great.
So their whole plan is to kill everybody
Right.
and then leave themselves for dead by stabbing each other and make it look like Sid's dad did it in a freak set of rage.
Right, because it's the 1 year anniversary of his wife dying.
Yeah, and he
getting
lost it, and he
murdered.
killed his daughter and killed everybody and
Yeah.
left them for dead. And
It's a good
Then they'll
setup.
come-
I'd
yeah.
buy it if it was presented to me.
yeah, so they're all
I'm a moron though.
they have a very strong case for themselves to be innocent.
Right.
But
They'd be the only ones alive to plan the sequel.
and at some point they're like, "Okay, grab the gun," because they had a gun,
Right. The gun's gone.
and the gun's gone, and Stu's like, "Oh gosh," and then Gail walks
I'm losing
in.
a lot of blood here.
Gail walks in with the gun
Right.
pointed, and Billy says, "You forgot one thing," or whatever, and grabs the gun and we're like,
Yeah.
turn the safety off.
That's why you don't.
And he
have
punches
safeties
her,
on guns.
And he punches her or kicks her or something or hits her.
he
So-
like Spartan kicks her across
Yeah,
the.
he
yeah.
kicks her
room.
and she goes out the door and hits one of the
And falls
Dewey.
on Dewey.
and hits one of the posts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
knocks herself out right next to
on the
Dewey.
porch.
Right.
And
and
you're
then-
like, oh, they love each other and they're dead or whatever.
Oh, star-crossed lovers.
So Sid's like, at this point, after this has all happened, she is run away with the voice changer
Right.
and hides and calls her
And
own,
hides her father, too.
or he just, I don't know.
I mean, the guy was duct taped at the knees, like
Yeah, I mean, she probably took him. She probably put him somewhere.
in the closet, mind you.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Still
That's
tied
just-
up.
Yeah,
Still tied up, gagged,
I
tied
mean,
up.
It'd be faster to move him to the closet and not untie him.
I mean,
'Cause they could
you'd
just
have
shoot him if they saw that he was untied. They just kill him.
right, but like they take and it's the closet right outside where they're at too. They're like in the hallway. They're like the foyer, and the closet is like between there and the kitchen. And she has time to like pick him up, move him directly behind the bad guys, and hide him in a closet. Remember when he comes out? There's all this stuff that flies out with him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
know.
It's a little part of the movie.
So then she calls the police and rats him out and does a whole cat and mouse game with them.
Yeah, she turns the tables on him.
Yeah, and you find out that Stu only did it because of peer pressure, and he felt
Right.
he's too sensitive.
Right.
And
Which is great.
yeah, so and then you see like they have a whole cat and mouse with them like running around the living room. And
Yes. Yeah.
then Sydney.
I mean,
Gets
it's more of
tackled by
like
Stu
they
on the
keep getting tackled. Like she gets like tackled by that guy like twice or
yeah,
something like
and
that.
then she
It's just
tackles
funny.
him once or whatever, and
Right.
she he gets on top
Crushes
of
a
her.
TV on him.
And she bites his hand, and he falls
Yeah.
over on his side, and she's like, "You go," and drops the TV on
Yeah.
his face, and then he's dead.
He's twitching for a second.
And so, then Billy comes back. I
Right.
he either went upstairs or
He was
something.
searching for her.
yeah, throughout the whole house. So he's walking through with the gun pointed,
Right.
and then she comes out of a closet and stabs him with a
Umbrella.
and that looked like it hurt.
It probably did.
Well, yeah, it did because in the behind the scenes, she actually did stab him, not like a big injury, but like
she
his
speared herself a trout.
yeah her his yell in this part is real. It's not acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and she's dressed up in the Ghostface outfit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So then
She ends up
like he's on the ground and
right.
and he gets on her and he's like, time to meet your mother, say hi
Right.
to her for me or whatever. And
Gail Weathers.
Gail walks in and turns off the safety on the gun.
Right.
She's not actually dead, and she shoots him.
Right.
And then they're like, find out Randy's still.
Randy's still alive. He only got
Still kicking.
winged.
Yeah. And then they're all standing over the body, and
He's like, this
is the part where they come back.
Yeah.
And then Billy goes like jump. I guess not really jumps
I think
up.
he
but
just
has like
came out of consciousness really fast. Like
yeah, and
he
had
was
like
unconscious.
Had
Yeah.
an adrenaline rush type thing, and then
Yeah.
she shoots him in the head,
Right.
dead.
Right.
Gone.
He didn't really get a last quip. He just like
Yeah. So
She's got good aim for somebody that's probably never fired a gun before, by the way.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's point blank.
Yeah. Still.
But so after this, they have a little bit of like
the cleanup.
yeah. So you see that Dewey actually lives. He gets put into
Dewey lives.
an ambulance. And
Randy lives. Gail lives. The
And
dad lives. And Sid lives.
So you put them all. They put Dewey in the ambulance, show he's alive, and you've seen everybody else come alive.
Right.
You can see that her dad was in the closet. He breaks out,
Right. Right.
and then it just cuts to later on that night of Gail doing a
Oh, like
a
right
news
after,
report.
right after,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like the
She's-
sun's coming up
Yeah.
after the day and everything.
and she's doing a news report,
Right.
and you do a pan out
Right.
of all the stuff that's going on, and that's it. That's
Yeah.
the movie.
That's the movie.
You don't need a wrap up scene. You don't need
After credit scene.
no. You
yeah.
you're just like, all right, this is what happened. They're telling the world what happened, and that's
Yeah.
it. We're done.
Cut to black.
And that's Scream 1.
So, what do you guys think? How do you think the rules kind of affected you guys? Like, are they pretty decent rules? Like, or do they apply to today's horror movies?
I think they're like the test of time. Like they will
Sure.
always be. Like, don't be an idiot,
Right.
and like a lot of like the have sex thing
Yeah,
that does still.
it does, except for the movie It Follows. That's
I have not seen that one.
it's an interesting film.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
It's actually pretty good.
So
Well, and also that also goes with like it is different too because there's no sex in it really,
Right.
and
well, in you said in it,
I mean,
yeah.
it-
like the clown movie,
the
Well,
in the
if you-
book there is.
if you read the book,
it's weird.
there is.
Yeah, we won't talk about
Yeah,
that.
I'll tell you this outside of the podcast.
It's very controversial.
Yeah,
okay.
it's Stephen King was doing a lot of drugs,
Um,
so I'll tell you.
Right.
I'll tell you.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
So-
yeah.
He broke Rule 2.
Deep
Yeah.
dives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we kind of went through most of them.
Yeah, I think
Like
we did.
I'll just share like one more thing on
Yeah.
this since
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to talk about
Speak up.
it. So like way early on, when Billy arrives for the first time,
Yeah.
So when he shows up, I noticed that his hair was kind of sweaty
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
at the bottom,
Mhm.
which was kind of like a dead giveaway to me. It's like, what you been doing, Billy? Because
Yeah.
obviously you're not going to be. He was in shape enough where
He could
wasn't going to
scale
be
a house.
He wasn't going to be sweating by climbing up onto the roof to sneak
Sure.
into her room.
I mean, yeah, but he might.
Sure.
They didn't show that any of them could drive, so maybe he walked all the way there because Sid's house in the middle of
True.
nowhere.
Tatum could drive.
Yeah, she.
Dewey could drive.
But that was it.
Right.
At least that we've seen.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we don't know if you can or not.
Yeah, but
I also would assume if we're looking at it from outside of the plot, I mean they did kidnap the dad, so they would have had to have been able to drive his car. So I'm
well,
assuming
they just crashed it. They put it in a place.
well, but
they
they put it
wouldn't see
in
it.
right. So I'm assuming they could at least
I don't
drive it to an extent.
I think they're all seniors in this movie, so they should.
Yeah, they
but
were. Yeah.
but
They
it's
didn't really specify what grades, but I'm.
It's
assuming
just it's
seniors.
easy to think of it either way.
Right.
Right.
So yeah. So
So like that was like the easy dead giveaway
Yeah.
to me. And it was like, okay, this is kind of suspicious, but
He was just kind of a oddball, kind of suspicious character in
to
general.
begin with, yeah.
and he never hid his actual voice from like the
Changer.
voice box.
Right. It was.
Well,
a,
he did.
It was a very
His-
similar
it was-
tone and
His
timbre.
his like I don't know what to say. His like not mannerisms, but the way he spoke,
Right.
his inflections were very similar.
Right.
And at the end they they layer the voices of the guy
Right.
the guy who does the voice and then their voices together so that the audience can put together
Right.
that. But in the moment, yeah, it makes sense. But
Yeah. And like I said, they kind of gave that enough doubt throughout the entire film that it could be or
could be
this
anybody.
And back in that day, it was very seldom that there was more than one killer, right?
Right.
Yeah, you did not expect.
Right.
And
Right.
usually
I
the-
didn't expect it when I first saw it to have two killers in the film. Like,
And usually with those that time, the killer was Jason. Oh, you know who it is.
right,
It's
right. You have Freddy,
Freddy,
you have
oh,
Jason,
yeah.
you
Right.
have
You have
Mike
Michael.
Myers.
Right.
You got it's a very knowable character that's not part of the group, right?
And it's very early on that you know who it is. Yeah.
right, right.
The only exception I can think of off the top of my head. There's probably a million other exceptions, but The Thing.
Oh yeah,
It's more of a. That's more of a
right, right. That's more of a supernatural, or not supernatural, but more of a
It could be anybody.
right because it's a shapeshifter kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
But
I think in today's society, if that movie was remade, if Scream was remade, it would be somebody within that. It wouldn't be somebody within that group, but you would think it would be Billy.
yeah.
Like all signs would point to Billy, and then they would subvert your expectations and go with.
But
you
it
know.
wouldn't. It wouldn't be as.
Right, it wouldn't be as surprising.
Yeah. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't work.
Right. And Billy was always a little bit too on the nose too, so it gave that kind of like, oh well, it couldn't be Billy because it's certainly Billy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, we're at this point
Yep.
where
We're gonna do
We're-
our ratings 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
Jim, what's
You're
your
welcome,
rating on
Nick.
this movie?
I'm gonna say 8. I think it's a great film. It stands the test of time. There are slight quirks in it that I didn't care for. A couple wooden performances, over dramatic Henry Winkler death. I like the kills and everything, and I like how they set it up, and they kind of did all the rules, and they basically gave that critique of modern horror movies at the time, that that film kind of reshaped the horror film genre. So watching it now was just as good as watching it 100 times before. I say a solid 8, maybe 8.5.
All right, Kenny, what do you think?
1 out of 10, I would have to give it about a 7.9.
Okay.
Not quite an 8 for me. Just there was a lot of good acting, don't get me wrong, and then there's a lot of terrible acting too.
Yeah.
Not by the well-known actors, more
No.
of like the actors you really don't know about, like the one cheerleader girl.
Yeah.
Her acting was complete trash.
Right.
And a lot of the, like, this is very early on in almost everybody's career in this movie at all.
Right.
So it makes sense.
And
Yeah.
then the Henry Winkler death was just
Yeah.
way.
But it's
way
hard to know
overdrawn.
if that was intentional. Or
Right.
'cause he's a very established actor.
He's a very likable guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would give it, out of bias, as my first real deep dive into the horror genre after I saw Halloween, which I love that movie, but I'd probably give it a 9, 8.5, 9.
Okay.
It's really solid. It's a good intro to people who don't know the horror genre,
Right.
and then you can get references to they're talking about Prom Night, or they're talking about they say Wes Carpenter, which is obviously a rip of Wes Craven and John Carpenter.
Right.
So you just, after that, you can seek out all of these other things, and then rewatch this one and be like, I get it. I thought it was really solid. I mean, it's not touted as one of the best horror movies for no reason.
Right.
It really changed the genre, and for the entire rest of the 90s and early 2000s,
Kind of
every
revitalized it too.
movie, slashers were kind of dead
Right.
at this point. Friday movies got real bad.
Right.
The Halloween movies,
The Leprechaun movies.
yeah, they were all bad.
Yeah,
Basically.
but Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, but Halloween was just about ready to come out with H2O,
Oh man.
which was the last good one.
Oh, I don't know.
And then yeah, but Halloween 4, 5, and 6 had just come out in the
Right.
last little bit, so people were really tired of it, and this revitalized the franchise of a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of ruined everything that came after, because
Right.
everybody else tried to be Scream.
Right.
You had I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is solid. It's a solid one, but
Yeah.
it's not as good.
Right.
And then you had The Faculty.
Dude, The Faculty was great.
It's good, but it was definitely trying.
It was
to,
different, yeah.
And then they had that movie Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine or just Valentine?
Valentine. It
Okay.
had the guy from Angel.
Oh,
and Bones.
David.
Boreanaz or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so it really paved the way for a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
The same way Die Hard changed action movies.
Right.
Same thing. But yeah, so I think that's it.
All right.
So we'll catch you next time for Scream 2. We're going to college this time, and there's a whole new set of ghost faces and murders, and we'll see how Sydney figures it out. All right. Anything else you guys want to say today?
All I'm gonna say is top off your coffee and jump right into the next episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
And let us know. Is there a comment section on?
There is a
Amazing.
comment section.
Let us know what your favorite scary movie is.
All right. See you guys.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you did, you should go check out the rest of our episodes on our website at ccflugnutspodcast.com.
You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages by searching the Lugnuts Podcast Group.
Thanks for listening, and remember, Jesus loves you, and so do we.